Must have dozed off again. When you don't sleep, you sometimes black out at odd times throughout the night, not knowing if minutes or hours passed. Sometimes I feel like I didn't actually even wake up, possibly still dreaming. I hope this isn't the dream. I'm not sure I could handle the reality I see when I close my eyes. The funny thing about breaking into a library is that there's no security. I mean, you don't often hear about a book heist. So it's always easiest to just enter the library before it closes, find a rarely used quiet section, and just be patient. But when you have to break in after hours, things change. Again, you don't hear about libraries being robbed, so it's actually much easier to be noticed if you're loitering or looking for a way in on the outside. You need to stay in the shadows, and you need to hope no one hears you breaking a window, or that no one randomly sees you trying to pick a lock at the door. I must say that in all of my cases, I've never had to break into a library before. Lucky for me, someone forgot to shut a window that just happens to be in a good space. Maybe this won't be that hard after all. The other thing about libraries is they seem to be less quiet at night. Pipes creaking, wind rattling the windows, even the floors bending with every step. In most libraries during the day, there's a buzz, even with no one talking. You'll hear a cough or someone stub their toe on a chair. Now, all I can hear are my own thoughts, screaming at me to turn around. Something doesn't seem right. I mean, why am I even doing this? This lemon sure did a number on me. Or maybe it was the nightmares. The lack of light is also difficult, as I hope to find an ancient text in a closed library. As I told Jane, these so-called occultists usually have candles flickering at least. Here, my eyes are taking too long to adjust. And I'm supposed to find a hidden section in the basement. I didn't even know this library had a basement. It took me a minute to realize that there were stairs behind the desk. They led to a door with the words, "Keep out." So, the basement isn't even public knowledge. Very strange. Most people who see that door probably put it out of their minds. I mean, I've been here many times to research for a case, looking at old newspapers, visiting this desk. My brain didn't even take a note of that door. I wonder if there's a key near the front desk. I need to pick at least one lock. I must hurry. I only have 2 hours before the sun begins to rise, just 3 hours before the librarian comes to get the building ready for the public. It was much easier than I thought. Maybe I don't have anything to worry about. My gut does say otherwise. For some reason, I keep thinking of that voice in my dreams, asking me to help. What if this is a trap? Perhaps these dreams are just my own internal warnings. Should be safe to turn on a light down here as there's no windows. This should help me find this book. Odd how the basement begins with a hallway and all these doors. I'm guessing I just need to look for the one marked forbidden. Or possibly another locked door. Why do I feel like I'm not alone? Who's there? Stop playing games with me. Show yourself. Hello. What am I doing? I'm letting the shadows get to me. What Jane said get to me. No time. I just need to get this book and get out of here. Hopefully this is the last door. I think my insomnia is causing me to hallucinate.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Ball! Lost in Dreamlands! We came within one result for league history as all but one 0-1 team earned their first victory of the season. And the team that's now 0-2, Air Jordan, it's pretty crazy to think about. Air Jordan came into the season as the preseason #1 team after trading to get 4 total third-round picks at the deadline last year. On paper, the picks looked good, but now that Christian McCaffrey's on IR, a winless start stings even more. This also means we only have one undefeated team remaining, the Stellar Bitches. This is also wild to think about since the Stellar Bitches didn't even crack 80 points this past week, dealing with injuries of her own. But with 10 1-1 teams, the league is certainly looking like a competitive nightmare for all of us, with injuries most likely continuing, and strange coaching decisions and NFL upsets wreaking havoc on our scores week to week. Things are so insane that the computers have certainly gone buck wild with the power rankings once again, but we'll learn about those rankings at the end of this episode. First, let's go over the results that puts us in a rare week 3 with so many teams looking to take division leads. We start in the last as Pounders travel to take on the Elite Mother Tuckers in Moscow 24-35. host, the Lean Mother Tuckers, are thinking about how they ran the table after an 0-1 start in 2022 now that they secured last week's 121.32 to 115.2 win over Pounders in an Asia-Pacific battle. This one came down to Monday night with Bijan Robinson and Devontae Smith combining to score 26.8 points to secure the victory. A 7-yard touchdown reception from Smith ended up being the difference in the matchup. But the Mother Tuckers had plenty of other firepower with the 50-plus yard touchdown pass by Dak Prescott and a touchdown by George Kittle. Devon Achane had the best game for the elite Mother Tuckers, 165 yards and a touchdown. The Chargers defense showed up with 2 sacks and an interception, also just 3 points allowed to the lowly Panthers. Justin Tucker missed a 50-yard field goal, but he did make 2 40-yarders to help him finish with 13 points. Pounders, who has 3 solid fantasy quarterbacks on his roster, picked the wrong one as Josh Allen was held to just 1 score and under 12 points. Lamar Jackson didn't have that great of a game, but he did score 6 points higher on the bench, and if Pounders played Jackson, he would have won. James Cook led Pounders with 95 yards and 3 touchdowns, while James Conner added 124 yards and a score. Chris Godwin also did well with 117 yards and a touchdown, while Breece Hall finished with 114 yards and a score. Pounders also lost the players to watch battle, with Worthy being held to just 22 yards. That epic bust came. Several bench options would have led to a win. Robinson once again didn't score, but did finish with 122 yards to help the Mother Tuckers. Both teams are now 1-1, but Pounders remains in first place in the division with the points tiebreaker at the moment. The elite Mother Tuckers are actually third in the division despite this win.
When James Cook starts the first half scoring 3 touchdowns, more touchdowns than he's probably scored ever in a single game, things don't look very good. But thankfully I had Devon Achane answer and got most of those points back, just a few under. It was a tight game. Had to come down to Monday night. I was thrilled to receive the victory here, and I just got to give a shout out to my team. They showed up when I needed them the most and ended up getting the W.
It certainly was a big game of the week win with home squads now 2-0 to start the season in the highlighted matchup. Both teams are guaranteed to have another opportunity in a game of the week, with the elite Mother Tuckers getting the rare third one in the first 12 weeks based on how the schedule worked out. Pounders, of course, will have his home game of the week in week 5. But what about the rest of the league? Let's check out what happened in the best of the rest. Risky Business crushed defending champion Green Acres 126.8 to 82.54 in the other Asia-Pacific showdown, which puts the defending champs in last place after 2 weeks. Justin Jefferson injured himself but had a 97-yard touchdown reception to lead Risky Business. Baker Mayfield added 2 scores, and Kaimi Fairbairn was a man possessed with 3 50-yard field goals to score 20 points at the kicker position. The Browns' defense also did well, much to the chagrin of More Than Conquerors, who drafted the Browns in the 7th round, but then dropped them last week. The Browns had 4 sacks and a safety. J.K. Dobbins added 131 yards and a score, and Kyron Williams also reached the end zone. Green Acres had another TD by Ramondre Stevenson, and Nico Collins had a big game with 135 yards and a score. Amon-Ra St. Brown bounced back with 119 yards. Both teams are 1-1 with Risky Business in second place in the division based on points. Moving on to the European Void, these stellar bitches survived a low-scoring match against host Air Jordan, 74.98 to 55.94, mostly because all the points for Air Jordan were on his bench. Air Jordan left a mind-boggling 46.4 points out of his starting lineup by benching Devontae Adams and Calvin Ridley and not playing Rashid Shaheed. The best game in the lineup was Patrick Mahomes, who had 2 scores, but still didn't light up the fantasy sheet with under 17 total points. The Stellar Bitches lost A.J. Brown to a hamstring injury before Monday's game, and Joe Mixon and Isaiah Pacheco were both injured to further deplete her starting squad. But Darnell Mooney proved to be a great Monday night replacement with 88 yards and a score. Pacheco did collect 111 yards before his injury. Kicker Evan McPherson was the other top player for the Bitches with 40-yard and 50-yard field goals. The Bitches, of course, are 2-0. And Air Jordan is 0-2. In the other divisional matchup, hosts Remember the Titans defeated the Overcomers, who had just become number 1 in the power rankings the week prior, 90.38 to 58.9. Malik Neighbors was the star with 127 yards and a score, and the Steelers' defense had 2 sacks and 2 picks, with just 6 points allowed. Rashee Rice and Justin Fields added touchdowns, and Jahmyr Gibbs had 106 yards. Touchdowns by C.J. Stroud, Derrick Henry, and Devin Singletary were the lone bright spots in a forgettable week for the Overcomers. Both teams are 1-1, with the Overcomers falling to 3rd in the division. Next, we move to the American Void, where Loki Lebowski Thor hosted the Clash at Demon Head and bounced back from the worst performance in Week 1 with a 122.72 to 96.9 win. Elvin Kamara was the star of this show with 180 yards and 4 touchdowns in a beast performance. Marvin Harrison Jr. also bounced back in a big way with 130 yards and 2 scores, all in the first quarter. Jalen Hurts added a couple of touchdowns, and the Jets' defense had 4 sacks, a pick, and a fumble recovery. The Clash at Demon Head missed Jordan Love and had just 1 touchdown, despite almost scoring 100 points. Kicker Brandon Aubrey was the star of the team with 4 field goals, and Trey McBride recovered a fumble in the end zone for his touchdown. Jonathan Taylor and Brian Robinson both had over 130 yards. Both of these teams are now 1-1, with the Clash at Demon Head actually on top of the division based on points. Lastly, More Than Conquerors hosted Minerva's Minions and crushed the division rival, 124.44 to 68.66. Kyler Murray was a big reason for the win with 266 passing yards, 59 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is proving to be a huge trade pickup so far. CeeDee Lamb also had a 50-plus yard touchdown, and DK Metcalf scored his own 50-plus yarder for a big game on his side. David Montgomery and Jordan Mason added touchdowns as well. The Minions had scores by the Chiefs' defense, Travis Etienne, and Anthony Richardson, though Richardson had a poor game for quarterback standards. Saquon Barkley had 136 yards, but not much to speak of besides that. Both teams are 1-1, with the Minions in last place in the division now because of a lack of points. Yes, it was a very sad week for my Minions. Wide receivers are not clicking yet, and without any beast games, it hurt in a big way. But it is only week 2, and with 1 game separating 11 teams, there will be a lot of movement in the next few weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if we all stayed this close with up and down results for a while until teams and consistency and all that clicking and all that stuff happens. Do I think there are a few clear contenders already, and the power rankings reflect this with the top 3 teams in the rankings? That's the show for the week! But before you go, take a look at those new rankings. The teams at the top are going to be feeling pretty good about themselves regardless of what happened this past week. Until next time, salut.